You're listening to 17 Carat K-Pop, the podcast that's a little bit of everything with a K-pop twist. From pop culture critiques to the history of K-pop to interviews with people in the K-pop industry and K-pop artists themselves, to concert and album reviews, to a deep dive into the discographies of different K-pop artists, to K-pop news updates, to stories about the music industry more broadly. This show tries to cover everything about K-pop and K-pop as it applies to the larger music and concert scenes. Visit 17caratkpop.weebly.com for more information about the show. That's 17caratkpop.weebly.com. Hello everybody and welcome back to 17 Carat K-Pop. Today's episode is dedicated to a boy band who I think deserves a lot more recognition for the storyline they are creating, for their music in general, for their video content, all of it. CIX, aka CIX, but I like to say CIX. I hope you enjoy this guide to this band and what they're all about, what their music videos are all about. CIX is a boy band from C9 Entertainment. Their name CIX stands for Complete in X, or Complete in Unknown, or Complete in Uncertainty. However you want to say it, those are the three main words that they've used to describe what the X stands for. So it's kind of a blank space for fans to fill in the blank for whatever they want the name to be. And the uncertainties, so it's complete in unknown, complete in X, or complete in uncertainties. The uncertainties being referred to in the name mean they're referring to your flaws or deficiencies. And so CIX describes it as their band is full of these uncertainties they use in place of flaws. So if one of the members is super confident, for example, they are uncertain about when they need to be quiet and let someone else speak, maybe. Or the opposite, someone's super shy and their uncertainty or their flaw is about speaking out. And so each of them is a puzzle piece, and when each of the six members comes together, they complete a puzzle and they balance out each other's uncertainties by making certain that certain traits are shown by the group as a whole. Their fandom name is FIX, F-I-X, which stands for Faith in X. Faith in that uncertainty, faith in that unknown, and the members really do try to channel the emotions of the youth in what they do, which you'll see as we talk about the content of their music video storyline. There are 5 members in this band called CIX, don't ask why, and they are BX, aka Byung-gon, Soonhoon, Yeonhee, Jinyeon, and Hyunsuk. Soonhoon and Byung-gon actually both used to train with YG Entertainment, one of the big 3 K-pop companies, on one of the YG shows called Treasure Box first, and Byung-gon actually competed on Mix 9 in 2017. Jinyeon was on Produce 101, so they've tried their hand at different reality singing shows. These have been hard-fought victories to finally get to debut in a group, although Yeonhee only had training for like 18 months before getting his debut, and sometimes it could take 10 years before you debut, so 18 months is huge and really fast. But still, that comes with its own issues too. It's not like he had it easy. It comes with a lot of added pressure on you as an artist debuting. You need to prove why you deserve to debut so soon. But then you have Soonhoon, who has been training for this since age 10, so the members were training for very different periods of time, but all in all, they're coming together to try to make this group happen, and that was no easy feat, but it seems like their success was finally going to pay off. Of course, before the pandemic hit, though, they were going to have their first headlining USA tour and their first headlining show actually in Korea. They're joining this new K-pop act called Universe. They have their own podcast called Idol 42, so they've really dabbled in a lot regarding just producing media content for their fans. Then you've got the short films and stuff too, and the vlogs. We haven't even talked about those yet. So they just have a lot of content already, and they just debuted in 2019. Their whole music video universe concept is built around their name, that uncertainty, that X, that fill-in-the-blank space of life, and trying to navigate strangeness, what's unfamiliar and new to you. Chapter 1 was called Hello Stranger. The chapters are the names of the short films as well as the albums. Chapter 2, Hello Strange Place, and Chapter 3, Hello Strange Time. It all started with Chapter 1, Hello Stranger, and the single from that is called Movie Star. So it sounds like it would just be a fun pop song, but it's actually quite dark. It's got lyrics about, where am I? I'm losing my way. Some other lyrics include, "In this world filled with darkness, there are only frozen eyes. Even time has stopped. Is this all a dream? I think I've seen the light. Am I seeing things? You're calling me." And it's just very feeling like someone's calling out, and you are asking for help or they are, and you can't reach each other. It's just feeling very, very lost. The video also kind of shows that, where it relies on a lot of symbolism more than actual just overt plot. And you see the guys staring at each other, and they're separated by this glass wall. You see the guys just moved apart physically, and there are a lot of flashes of light and glitches in this video for Movie Star. Things are just out of sorts and unpredictable. There are hands reaching out towards people from behind screens, behind the walls. If you're an EXO fan, you may remember what that looks like, where you see shadows of someone, maybe them, a different version of themselves, reaching out and trying to get past this wall, but all you see is their shadow and their hand reaching toward it, and they can't get out. Then eventually all of the members get onto this pedestal type thing. It started with one of them in there, and then the others joined him. It's like kind of like a gazebo type of little thing they stand on together. It's got poles surrounding it. Anyway, it reminds me a little bit of the elevator/time machine that I see in the NCT universe, so maybe it's one of those types of transportation devices, or maybe it's not meant to represent anything, but it still feels notable for maybe future Easter eggs in their series. There are 2 CIX music videos that I really want to spend a lot of time unpacking, so I'm going to talk about the other songs first, even though this is not chronological order, but quickly I want to talk about some of the others. Revival is a video for a ballad, and the members are in different locations, which feels very intentional. They were all together, transported somewhere together in the video for Movie Star, and then for Revival they are all suddenly apart. They are each in their own setting with their own meaning you could add to it. One of them is in a desert. One of them is just out on a dark, rainy night. One of them is in this circle of flowers that is quite an aesthetic moment. It's just, the cinematography is great in this video. It's got this one spotlight shining down on a circle of flowers amidst pitch black darkness around him. One of the members is running out of the smoke-filled setting, and then the other one is on a couch somewhere, just looking very wistful, staring and looking at this snow globe type thing in his hand, and it's just a lot of pain you see in many forms, whether the pain seems to be boredom or listlessness, or pain that is maybe physical or just otherwise. They are in mourning of some form. An interesting twist on the typical K-pop symbolism. In this video, instead of having the members deal with just literal fire and stuff like that, the fire is playing on this giant screen that's set up like a movie projector screen. And so it's a wall of fire, but it's all digital, and one of the members sits on top of this big screen. It's a really interesting symbol of detachment from what's happening around you, and that dissociation with some sort of trauma going on. So you could really read into the fact that they made the fire digital as opposed to just physically there in front of them. Also, you could read into their outfits. They all wear all white outfits at one point, which for many K-pop artists is representative of a clean slate or a better day ahead for the character's journey. White clothes tend to be that symbol in literature and stuff as well. They also have this choreography, not symbolic, but just worth noting because it's very cool, with these strips of cloth that they dance with, and I'm always impressed by that stuff because it reminds me like of the My Eye or Lily Yabai 17 choreography numbers, so I love that. But also, it's just impressive to me because I would totally trip over any cloth I was trying to dance with. Like, even the smallest cloth, I would get tangled in it or trip over it. So to make it look graceful and then in sync with 4 other people at least, that is a feat that is worth applauding. The lyrics include "What's missing now is the future, goodbye," so it's very, very dark here, but a really somewhat hopeful lyric. "I've stopped making it all about me. This world is about give and take. I think of what I can do for you," which is worth sitting with. Enough said. The video for My New World does look like a new world, and it's this Matrix type setting, and members' eyes glow green. It feels like they are not themselves. There's some evil version of themselves here. there's a lot of defying gravity in this new world. Chairs are floating, glass cubes are floating, all sorts of symbols you could read into as much as you want. There is this lyric, I'm paraphrasing here, but it's basically, the darker the scene, the brighter the stars. I love that message, and that's basically what they're realizing as they are now plunged into this dark landscape that is unfamiliar to them, as the theme of strangeness continues here that they try to deal with. But then the brighter the stars, literally, in this video now. The Sandy scene is back, which I think wasn't an intentional detail that is staying the same in their world, because you had the revival video with the desert scene, and now the Sandy scene is back, only it's part of a beach. So it's not the same, it's a desert and now it's a beach, but I do feel like that standing by sand that seems endless and now standing by sand with a shoreline and an end point to it feels symbolic and intentional. An image keeps flashing on the screen of a giant planet barreling towards this shoreline, and that feels like an indicator that the members have actually moved onto a different planet now, and they're staring back at their home planet while they are here. Or maybe they realize it's the opposite and they were never on their home planet and have to figure out how to get there and rediscover themselves. You could take it any way you want. The video for Numb is when their once just symbolism-focused storyline really is interspersed with a lot more narrative elements and gets super relatable, but keeps a lot of symbolism as well. It takes place in this school setting. One of them ends up setting fire to the classroom they are in. They clearly want to get rid of their memories from school days, which is super relatable. A lot of lyrics about feeling pressured to stay silent or to conform. A lot of just critiques of feeling like teachers don't do anything when kids are bullied, or just otherwise having issues with their classroom experiences in ways they think that could be better. Adults spectate, that's a key phrase in the song, adults just spectate. One member is literally facing himself outside of the school building, and there's essentially a giant earthquake type crack in the rocks, so the different sides of himself are facing each other as the rocks move further and further away from each other. So there's a lot more dissociation symbolized here. And the world is in ruins outside, absolute ruins. It's apocalyptic outside of the school building. Is indicative of not as much the school environment, but as there's also no other alternative. These boys in the school setting feel like there's nowhere to go for a reprieve because outside their door, the world is chaos as well, which is, again, super relatable because you could try to, deal with a traumatic day at school by going home and chilling out, but you can't breathe that sigh of relief so much anymore because it's just chaos all around you, and that's what they are showing and visualizing. The lyrics to the song Numb are probably my favorite and the most poetic, and so I just really want to share a lot of the direct lyrics translations with you because they really just leave a lot they sum up so much of what CIX is trying to say with their storyline and is worth just sitting with. A youthful face has no expression rather than dreaming. They learn to give up. They learn to give up. Good and evil are cloudy. Heads turn away if they don't see, busy calculating, closing their eyes and covering their ears, pressure to remain silent. Go now, return to the beginning, to the days of innocence. Take a step and stand like the first time. Open your eyes like the first time you dreamt your dreams, like the first turn. Back to square one, I'm going numb, they don't care no more, I'm going numb, they don't care no more. Take a step and stand like the first time, open your eyes like the first time, dream your dreams like the first turn. The cost of one's life is on the line, if not first place, then a loser. Adults spectate, struggles wearing the mask of rebellion, pitted against friends, suffocating us with obedience to forced education. Hey, don't resist, I told you to smile. Like a slipped measure, always hypocritical, the spirit of cutting off obsolete logic, and it ends once again repeating, open your eyes like the first time, dream your dreams, back to square one. A lot of critiques leveled at the current education system, feeling like it puts them into these boxes they don't want to conform to that do more harm than good, just otherwise feeling inadequate and too much pressure from the testing scheme and how it might label some people as not as smart as they truly are, and that just limits their potential if they have that low self-esteem due to certain testing scores and how all that is calculated. They're critiquing here. They're also critiquing just the school experience and bystanders to the pressure and pain students are dealing with, and how teachers have a shrug-it-off attitude about that sometimes. They have a lot of critiques packed into a 3 or 4 minute song. These feelings of not amounting to anything or just being unfairly compared to other students and just facing so much unnecessary pressure do continue to be explored in their latest album, but in different ways. So now they're back to more symbolism. So they went from symbolism to narrative and now back to more of the symbolism, but they're always intertwined with CIX's music video universe. So for the new video for Jungle, it has a lot of symbolism. And as they told Soompi in their interview about the meaning of it, quote, "Jungle conjures up the image of a tangled forest. On another level, jungle means a place where it's difficult for people to trust each other because of strong competition," unquote. Which makes a lot of sense. It has this, when you hear the word jungle, it can refer to, of course, feeling lost, like you're tangled in the woods or whatever. It could also refer to, it's a jungle out here, as in you feel like no one's got your back and everyone's out for themselves, and it's hard to know who to trust and who is truly having an alliance with who. And so they are leaning into that double meaning here, which you see in the video. The lyrics agree with that, saying things like, "Eyes aiming at me, trap or love? I don't know, it's a trap or love. A swamp pulling me in, the more I struggle, the more I still fall. Tangled and tied up, everything is dangerous and beautiful." Things are described in ways that are contradictory because, again, the members are leaning into that concept of strangeness, of the fill in the blank of what life is. And they explore this in very messy ways, as I talked about in the episode about the most notable and praiseworthy music videos of 2020. Jungle made that list for being All My Nightmares Come to Life. It is quite cinematic. It features each of the members going through their own personal hell, essentially, and they all have a nickname to go with them. So Byung-gon has this hell of fire he deals with, Hyunsuk has the hell of water to deal with, Soonhoon has the desert hell, Jinyeon has the hell of ice, and Yeonhee has this tree hell, or hell of tree, or however you want to say that. But they all have these personal issues to deal with, a different obstacle to overcome, and different sins to try to escape from. The video is quite intense, so if you don't like action movies and gory movies, maybe don't watch it, but it really is cinematic. It features this person lying on the ground with arrows around them, someone chained up, literally, underwater scenes, someone basically being sacrificed. There's a lot of danger happening. There's also the ultimate example in that video of what not to do, so they could throw that into a coronavirus PSA because it features so many people, naturally masculous, just crowding each other and basically having a mosh pit in the middle of the sacrifice ceremony. CIX has confirmed that the Jungle music video was based on this poem, this narrative poem called The Divine Comedy, which has to do with and sets up this picture of the 9 circles of hell, and the members are going through those. The narrative poem, The Divine Comedy, is viewed as really groundbreaking and having paved the way for modern fiction writing as we know it, and just for permanently changing how the afterlife is perceived in many circles, religious, literary, etc. The Divine Comedy is a poem that is split into 3 main parts: Inferno, Purgatory, and Paradise. Hell, purgatory, heaven. It follows a soul's journey, essentially, and it starts with the Inferno scenes where Dante in the poem is attacked by these animals while he's trying to seek salvation, but he can't reach it. He eventually gets rescued from the beast by Virgil, though, and we proceed to the section called Purgatory, which features this mountain and 7 rooms of the different sins. So each sin has like a room you have to get through to deal with the sin. Once they do, Virgil and Dante celebrate Easter Sunday together, and that is also considered the location of the Garden of Eden that sprouts up. The third section is called Paradise and addresses the 9 spheres of heaven. So we went through the 7 spheres of sins, I guess you could say, and now we're at the 9 spheres of heaven. Different spheres embody different virtues, and Dante gets to meet with several saints as he's on that journey exploring the spheres with their different virtues. The whole poem ends with Dante feeling like his eyes have fully been opened now and his soul feels very content and satisfied. The poem is meant to have those narrative elements, but mix a lot of layers of meaning, theological, philosophical, astrological even. It's meant to be super dense and interpreted in many ways, which is why it has been so critically acclaimed for centuries now. Fun fact, this poem actually was not popular during the Enlightenment era. It was largely just ignored during that era and viewed as not that noteworthy. But then years later got the attention it deserved, which I can interpret now as kind of a metaphor for how CIX is using it, where right now they're not getting as much attention as they deserve, but maybe years from now people will look back and think, why weren't we appreciating them enough? So just saying, another unintentional symbol there. In addition to their official music videos, CIX also has a lot of short films that go along with the videos and their characters in those videos, but the short films are a lot more narrative based and not about symbolism. Episode 1 of those short films is called Butterfly Effect. Then there's Bystander, Self-Slaughter, Abrupt Absence, and Broken Family. It's very, very intense stuff, so as I recap these, I'm going to definitely water down how I talk about them, and I want to be very careful not to say anything triggering or too uncomfortable. If super graphic and dark, serious topics are quite a bit too much for you to handle, feel free to skip the rest of this episode, and I apologize for that. If watching 13 Reasons Why, for example, was too much, then maybe this description will be too much, but I'll try my best to not make it too much. I would actually argue that the way CIX does this was at times maybe a bit too graphic, like 13 Reasons Why, but I wrote a whole long essay once going off about how 13 Reasons Why dealt with some topics in way too graphic of a way, and I don't think CIX is the same case because it's not exploited the topic. It dramatizes without glamorizing in the same way that 13 Reasons Why did. And anyway, I won't go into that now. Maybe someday if listeners are interested in hearing my tangent about that show. But anyway, so that just gives you the context about what we're dealing with here and those real life struggles of the youth that they try to address through their music. So here we go. The first short film features Yeonhee's character who is dealing with depression very clearly, and he's in a classroom, he gets his grade, he got a terrible grade on his exam, and then he resorts to hurting himself. Appears routine, like he had that right in his bag ready to go for this moment, and then suddenly, instead of helping him, the opposite happens, and Jin Yun's character shows up and basically literally pushes him around and is just his bully and saying, "Are you crazy? Why are you doing that to yourself?" But not actually helping in any way, of course, and is just flat out just not helping at all. Short film 2 features then Yeonhee's character who is taken out back and gets beat up by even more bullies, and Byung-gon shows up and just watches looking very detached from it, like not really feeling emotionally affected, and walks away. It's just easier to emotionally shut off from that, and so he doesn't respond. Hence the name of the short film, Bystander. Short film 3 is called Self-Slaughter, and that one's obviously probably the darkest, if not one of the most dark short films in the series, where Soon-hoon's character is sitting atop this building ready to jump off, sends a goodbye text to his mom. It's really intense. Then his mom is calling him, right away frantically, but he doesn't pick up. Episodes 4 and 5, Abrupt Absence and Broken Family, are pretty self-explanatory. They feature a different plot simultaneously happening where a different member is waiting for a text back from his dad, and you can infer that the dad's not getting back to him, nor does he ever. So he's waiting for a text back like, "When will you pick me up right now?" But you can also infer that this dad never picks him up or never goes to see him, and so eventually this character put a pin in this detail, stops playing with his Rubik's Cube, puts it in his backpack, and gets up and walks away from the bus station where he had been waiting for someone or something. The epilogue films feature some follow-ups that answer a few questions about what was going on, but also open up a whole new can of worms and a bunch of new questions you may have. Byung-gon is seen just lying in his room thinking about how he had been that bystander earlier and comes to really regret it and be mad at himself for it, for doing nothing to intervene. So he grabs his school uniforms and books and stuff and sets fire to them. Unclear if he's getting rid of his belongings because he's going to do something drastic or quit school or what, but it is a symbolic moment for him where he is condemning himself for what he did and really what he didn't do. As for the absentee parent side plot, one of the members, there's an alternate ending where he didn't actually put the Rubik's Cube in his bag and start walking away. He left the Rubik's Cube on that bus stop bench and just walked away in the opposite direction. There's also a subplot where one of the moms hits one of the other moms with her car, and it's unclear if that was retaliation for bullying or if that was a complete accident, but one of the moms is critically injured, but at the very end of that epilogue episode, it appears that she's been revived and has not died, at least yet. There is clearly a lot more to their story, but that's kind of where we left off. And then the last video after those epilogue films and the short films were out, after that series of short films, we got the latest release, which is called Jungle. And that was the one where their souls travel through the purgatory and etc. So what comes of this next is very much up in the air, which is part of the excitement of this group because they don't stick to one formula. Where some K-pop groups, it's exciting that they do keep it so continuous, and so each music video that comes next or each short film that comes next, you know it's going to pick up right where the last one left off, like a TV show. Other groups like to tell their stories more like movies than TV shows, where it's not so continuous and it may skip around a little and you have to piece together the order of events. If they lean more into symbolism or if they pick up with these narratives right where they left off, it remains to be seen which order they'll go and when we'll find out what happened to these people. But there are so many loose ends to tie up here. And so clearly they have so much content out already, but they are just getting started, which is why I picked them for one of the K-pop rookie groups, somewhat rookie groups still, that you need to keep your eyes out on in 2021 and going forward overall. Now let's go back to that detail I asked you to put a pin in and remember. The Rubik's Cube. That is the same Rubik's Cube that was in the video for Numb. Throughout the Numb video, which is the one where they were in the school setting and having lyrics about adults spectating and not helping them, the youth with their problems, etc., and that music video with the world in ruins on the outside and all of that happening, amidst all that chaos, there were some things that were levitating, and one of those was a Rubik's Cube that one of the members reached out to grab, maybe for comfort, maybe for just curiosity, why it was floating, I don't know, maybe for peace of mind, some distraction from the world around him, but the Rubik's Cube was a detail worth noting in the Numb video, which came out, and then suddenly it was back in the short films as another distraction while he was waiting for an absentee parent to ever show up in his life. So it definitely feels like a coping mechanism for that character to just busy himself playing with a Rubik's Cube, and that was a detail I just felt like was worth noting because there are not so many overt details that indicate, oh, there's an Easter egg from the film to the video. The videos and short films seem to be quite separate, and so those details that connect them are really worth noting here for them because they are quite rare. There's a lot more I could probably say about CIX's universe because it is so layered, and it's intentionally that way, and it's intentionally maybe even not chronological. It's intentionally leaving a lot of questions and a lot up in the air. So stay tuned because when there are a lot of developments, I will of course revisit their storyline for another episode. But I hope this overview helped you better appreciate this boy group, and I hope you go check out their music. Jungle is probably their best song yet, honestly. It's really well done, and the music video, of course, is well done too. I really respect what they are doing and how they are trying to convey meaningful messages in relatable words and feelings to their audience. They're not trying to sugarcoat the struggles of youth, and I respect that a lot. So thank you, CIX, and thank you to my listeners. See you again very soon.